Hey everybody. Okay, today we have our week 3 lower body workout, and this one is going to target the hamstrings. Hamstrings is this big muscle here in the back of the thigh. As I've mentioned before, because this quadricep muscle group is so big, it tends to take over, and a lot of times we'll have some imbalance between the strength of the quadriceps versus the strength of the hamstring. So it's good to include some exercises that really target the hamstrings into your workout routine. So the first one is my kind of go-to hamstring exercise. I feel this in my hamstrings every time I do it. I'm always sore, and this is just a really basic movement, and that is deadlifts. So deadlifts are one of the hardest ones for me to teach because how we do this is really important. And the tendency is, let me show you how to do it correctly first. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring our feet about hips width apart. And then the key here is that the movement is coming from the hips, not the back. So I'm going to keep the dumbbells in really close to my body, and then I'm just going to push my hips back. Now my knees have a little bend, but I'm not bending more as I come down. So I'm kind of locking that bend in, and then all the motion is coming from the hips. As I push the hips back, I'm letting my chest drop forward without rounding my back, and that's the key. So what I see the tendency for a lot of people is to do this. I'm exaggerating it a bit, but this will just really just strain your low back and not really do anything for the hamstrings. So again, you want to make sure you're sticking the hips back behind you and then just sort of letting, that's what we call it a deadlift, right? Because the arms aren't really doing anything. We're not using them to lift the weight. It's really the legs that are pulling the weight back up, if you can think of it that way. So these are hamstrings, and I don't really feel them a lot when I'm doing them. I feel a little stretch, but they don't necessarily like burn. But then I'm always like sore the next day. All right, so that's deadlifts. The next one is just leg lifts. So with this, we are isolating these posterior muscles here, the hamstrings and the glutes. So I'm just gonna bring my leg back and just lift up. And I'm trying to keep my upper body really stable. And I'm just lifting. Again, the hip is the joint that I'm really focusing on letting the movement come from. You can also do this down like this if you want. Just gives a little different angle. You can point your toe or you can flex the foot just to get a little different muscle fiber activation. If you want to really challenge yourself, you can do this from a plank position. So you just hold a plank and then lift one leg. So now you're working all sorts of muscles. All right, so that's leg lifts. I would try to do about 10 per side, however you want to do it. And then the last one, we're going to go back to a bridge, but this time, last week when we did a bridge, we had our feet flat. This time what I want you to do is I want you to lift the toes up and do a heel bridge and lift. So when we do this, you should feel it a little bit more in those hamstrings. If you have like a small, I don't know, like box or a short like ottoman maybe, you can even put your feet up a little bit. I don't have one here to show you, but that'll just, again, just be another way to work the muscle fibers a little bit differently. But heel bridges is the last one. So again, we've got deadlifts, leg lifts, and then heel bridges. And hopefully you'll feel that here in the hamstrings and build some good balancing strength here in that muscle group. So good luck. Let me know when you get it done.